Welcome, everyone. Welcome. All right. Well, it is 12:03, so we'll go ahead and get started. We might still have a few folks trickle in, but all they will miss is my terribly exciting intro. So, lucky them. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to another Maine SBDC webinar. We have a really fun, really edu educated, knowledgeable guest with us today. So you aren't going to have to listen to just another SBDC advisor. Um, but first off, bear with me. I'll share my screen for a moment. If you are not familiar with the Maine SBDC, give me 30 seconds of your attention. We are a statewide organization offering no-cost confidential general business advising to for-profit businesses or folks starting businesses. We have locations all around the state. I am an advisor based in Greater Bangor, Greater Ellsworth, Greater Belfast area. We are, whoops, we serve for-profit small businesses or folks who are looking to start for-profit businesses. You just have to be based in Maine and most industries, a couple of minor exceptions due to federal legality because of our funding. And we help folks with, whoops, if I can make my slides change. We help folks with things like business plans, marketing, financial analysis, finding funding, and a wide variety of general business topics. And to work with us, mainesbdc.org, that big orange button in the upper right-hand corner will get you connected to the business advisor closest to you geographically. So just a few little housekeeping things as we get going here. If you do have questions, please pop them in the chat. We've got a good sized group here, so I think we'll do just chat and nothing audio. If you can please keep yourself on mute throughout the presentation. If you don't want to ask a question in the general chat for everyone to see, you can just change it so that it sends it to me, Allison Lane. I should be listed on your list in the chat. So feel free to send me questions and I'll feed them to Joy after the presentation. We're going to have a decent amount of time for Q&A. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest today. So we're joined by Joy Sinclair, who owns Joy Sinclair Marketing. She is a strategic brand and marketing professional with 13 years of experience in brand and content marketing, marketing strategy, communications, and public relations. She got her experience in public relations and marketing firms before taking on director level roles at some national and international business to business and business to consumer companies. In 2023, she moved her consulting business from a side hustle to full time. And now her clients include authors, massage therapists, mental health professionals, and large healthcare and tech startups. She loves helping businesses plan a solid marketing strategy and implementing the foundational pieces to ensure success. And today she's going to talk to you a little bit about using AI in your business. And so without further ado, I'll pass it over to Joy.
Thank you, Allie. All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen and I will not be able to see any of you because I'll be looking at my notes. So I apologize for that. So let's see here. And now I can actually see you. All right. So I noticed most of you have your cameras off. That is completely fine. It is lunchtime. Chow down. Take your a half hour to do, whatever you need to do. And I can't see you anyway, so it works out. So this presentation is about utilizing AI to improve social media marketing so that you have a little bit more time left on your plate. So as Allie said, this is me. I did update it to 14 years because I forget to change that a lot. And this is basically what Allie said. So other than that, I am a cat lover and I love Maine summer. I cannot wait for this weekend to set the clocks ahead. So a little bit of overview. We're going to do a bit of information on algorithms versus AI, the old days and social scheduling, AI integration, social media calendaring, and then utilizing AI to do a bunch of different things, scheduling your social. And then I did provide a little bit of bonus content on hashtag research and accessibility. So algorithms versus artificial intelligence. So I find that a lot of people confuse data that algorithms give us um, in different channels that are online. Sorry, I have to move my people here for a second because it does in fact show me all of you. All right, there we go. Couldn't see my notes. A lot of people confuse the two of these. So advanced algorithms give us the data on when our audience for a particular channel is online. It gives us purchasing behavior and likelihood that someone will purchase our product, whereas artificial intelligence does a lot more advanced computing that would normally require human intelligence. So being able to edit text down to a smaller, more concise sample, et cetera, or taking a blog and turning it into 3 social posts that you could use to help market your blog. And my clicker stopped working. So in the old days before AI, we had data to show when best posting times were for a long time now. That changes constantly. So if you use that specifically on Meta platforms, if you utilize that, you'll find that it does change unless you're consistently using those times. If you start changing your posting times, you'll notice that those times start changing as well. And obviously, as your audience changes, that changes as well. So again, Meta, Facebook, and Instagram show you when your followers are online. They're not always accurate, but they're super useful still. And then the API that allows social media scheduling software to schedule posts doesn't provide or never provided content suggestions. It didn't have as many automations. So there were a lot of different things that we didn't have before folks started using advanced algorithms and then started using AI. We used to have to track all of this and do all the math ourselves to get results, which was just a lot. And I still do some of that, but it's nice to be able to pull the data much faster. So since AI integration, every app pretty much has their own version of AI. You can see that I haven't used Buffer's AI very often. It's very similar. So as you use things, they tend to get more tailored to you. You'll hear people talk about, oh, you can buy my prompt so that you can get better information. Don't fall for that. Just develop your own. Like use it for long enough yourself that you can get some good information. So this is Buffer. Buffer is a social media scheduling tool that I'll show you a little bit later. But it just asked me to put in, what do you want me to write about? So I had it generate some ideas about different content. And as you can see, these all start the almost exact same way. So it's not super proliferative on different things. But again, this was simply, what does your business do? And what would you like to post about? So I fed it a few lines about what I do and what my field was. And then this is what it spit back. So specific AI platforms tend to give better results. ChatGPT, usually there's multiple revisions necessary. And I've used ChatGPT for a long time. I typically use it to when I've looked at something for a really long time and I just can't think anymore, or I need it to be spit back in a different way, even though it's still my writing or my client's writing, I have to just have it presented a different way to fire off some new ideas. So I find that there's typically multiple revisions necessary. There can be similar output each time, which is why you see so many people selling their prompts. It does automatically train the AI and there's no opt-out available. So you can only delete personal data, which is tricky. So there's a lot more privacy concerns, with different AIs, and this is one of them. But I like to say that ChatGPT is wordy. So this is a video that I took to just kind of demonstrate some ChatGPT. And hopefully you can see it. So basically, look at all of that. That was from one prompt, and it's still going. And then I said, provide a short description on what digital marketing is. And it gave me 8 bullets and 2 paragraphs. And I said, okay, but make it shorter, please, like 5 sentences. And then it finally spit back the 5 sentences. So different platforms tend to give different or better results. So this is Claude. Claude, as you can see, has a different font, a slightly different color. It's a little more visually pleasing. ChatGPT is very simple, which was their entire intent. I find that it gives higher value responses. It has a better privacy policy, a little bit more transparency. You have to opt in for training the AI, and you're allowed to delete everything that you've ever put in it, not just stuff within 30 days. So a lot of marketers and writers that I know use it to kind of rearrange their content, like I said, when they've looked at it for too long. So what I did is I put a few different stock photos in here and asked it to create alt text, so alternative text for these images, which we'll get into a little bit more later. So if you are posting an image and someone with a screen reader or who is visually impaired or blind is looking at your content, because blind folks still use social media, the alt text shows them what the image is of. So this is kind of what that is. So it shows you image 1 alt text, a person receiving a facial massage, lying with closed eyes, while another person's hands gently rest on their cheeks and forehead with a neutral beige background. And then it goes on to have a few more. So with Claude, I asked it to turn a colleague's review on, I believe it was a pizza oven, into a few social media posts, and it did fairly well. So it gave me 3 social media posts based on the review text that I put in, which I did have to copy and paste. It does not read from links. And I think that probably has to do with the privacy policies that they utilize. So you do have to copy and paste the information in, which, if you know, when you're copying and pasting any news article or blog in, there's going to be like a bunch of pictures and other links mixed in that you'll want to take out. So it saves time, but it takes time. So it gave me a LinkedIn/professional post, gave me an Instagram post, and it gave me a Twitter or X post. I like that it still calls it both. That's just a little aside that I thought was funny. So always research your hashtags. It did spit back hashtags, which I thought was interesting because I'm curious about the process behind where it pulled those. So definitely research those before you're popping one in there. And then don't use too many emoji. Bullets are just fine. So you can use bullets, you can use the star on your keyboard. You don't need to necessarily use an emoji for a list of bulleted items. And I've added some resources on accessibility and why those particular things matter at the end of the presentation as kind of bonus content. So in Meta Business Suite, the AI integration that they've used has kind of left their Meta AI, which you all, if you use Facebook or Facebook Messenger, you all see the little blue and purple, portal is kind of what it looks like, that you can tap to utilize their AI. So they've left that out of social media scheduling, except for in ads where they've done Advantage Plus content. I do encourage my clients to turn it off just to decrease ad spend and errors. But if you do turn it on, ensure you're reviewing the suggestions, which they can go forever. So just kind of take a few minutes and look at the different ones that they pop up. But it is really good for selling items. If you have a storefront, say if you're Box of Maine or whatever, and you have multiple different types of boxes that you sell, pop those in, pop your catalog in, and sell those in a carousel post. So if you're TJ Maxx, I've been targeted by these ones. It's going to show you things that you're more likely to buy. It's not always perfect, obviously. And you can get some really funny things if things go awry, but that's why you definitely want to review it. So it's great for selling items in carousel posts, and it shows consumers the things they're more likely interested in based on previous shopping behavior that's been tracked by Facebook, Instagram, etc. So like I said, if you're just starting out with ads on Meta, make sure you turn it off. And you have to do it in like 3 different places. So keep an eye out. They try to hide it. But if you want to play with it, definitely review it. So before you can schedule anything, you have to organize. So when you're organizing your social media information, you have to gather all of the information you'll be using. So photos, videos, text rather, hashtags, links, any links you'll be utilizing, and then accounts to tag. So if it's like a collaborative post, or if you're Penobscot Theater and you're tagging some of the actors that work with you or musicians. Develop a social media calendar. So create a simple template on Google Sheets. Note monthly and yearly events like Community Service Month if you're a community service organization, Pride Month if you have, an open and welcoming policy, or if that's your business clientele. Note local events that may impact your business. So different conferences like the Fisherman's Forum just happened down in Rockland, or Rockport, technically. It's literally like a sneeze away from Rockland. Concerts, fairs, the day snow tires need to come off because nobody pays attention to that ever. My mom worked in town government. So whenever I hear snow tires in the summer, I'm like, those were supposed to be off. You can get fined. You're going to ruin the roads. Anyway, I'll stop shaking my fist. Allie will be passing along a simple Google Sheets social media schedule template for distribution to those of you who attended today. So it's just something that you can have all of that information in one spot so that you can plug and play when you're ready to schedule your social. So ideas that relate to pertinent hashtag holidays, like Cheese Day, and just don't overuse those. Those are actually also available on the Meta scheduling software. When you're in Meta Business Suite, they do have like Women's History Month is up now, and they have different days, different holidays are shown on their calendar when you look at the calendar view. Decide how often to post. So you don't have to post every day on every network. And I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. I typically post 2 to 3 times a week at most, just because I don't want people to be overwhelmed. It's obviously going to be more if you have daily specials, if you're a restaurant or a store, or if you have a lot of public interaction. If you're looking to scale your social quickly, utilize the stories feature on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, and then post daily or every other day if you're on TikTok to get a baseline. I know, it's a lot. Feed that algorithm. So I usually tell clients not to post more than that unless they're utilizing stories or TikTok. So once you're ready to schedule, Meta, which is Facebook and Instagram, have built-in scheduling options. So you don't need to pay for those because it's honestly better to utilize their option. You have more options for tagging, etc. And knowing you're tagging the right person because it pops up. For other accounts, you can use free or low-cost programs to schedule. Buffer is my favorite. They don't pay me for this, by the way. So Hootsuite and Later are free for either 7 or 30 days, and then you have to subscribe. A lot of people use those as well. Hootsuite has always been really popular. It was one of the first social media scheduling softwares. If you see an Owly link, which you used to see all over Twitter, it was like the only link shortener. That was typically people using Hootsuite. So the pros of scheduling is it saves time, it sets up your week or even your month at once, and it allows for addition of unexpected content. So particularly if you have a special or you change your mind about something, or, God forbid, like a water main breaks and you have to close for the day, you can pop those things up and not feel pressured to be posting a bunch of things because your baseline is already taken care of. And then you can update your clients on, or your customers on, what's happening that day. So when you're scheduling your social, again, I encourage clients to use Buffer for non-Meta accounts because it's free. So you get 3 channels for free. So if you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, we're not going to talk about Twitter today. X, sorry. And LinkedIn, which you can also schedule directly natively in LinkedIn. It's a little less intuitive, but you could use Buffer for LinkedIn. So you can cover all of those and just go to 2 places instead of a bunch. No incessant emails. They don't constantly send you emails to subscribe to things. They offer free link shortening, like most others do as well, but you can also turn it off. And their team is amazing. I have used Buffer as a paid version, and they get back to you within 24 hours. Their team used to be based out of London. I know they're still in the UK, but they do get back to you pretty quickly. And their paid version has a ton of different options, including first comment, which is where you'd want to put your links, because we are seeing that when you put a link in a direct social post, it's getting like down. If you're on Reddit, it would be downvoted, but it's essentially getting kind of buried. So you're not getting as much interest to that post as if it were just text with a link in the comments, which is weird, but it's a thing because you're driving people off the platform. So again, they don't pay me for this, I promise. So this is a video that I created that kind of walks through the social scheduling process. When it shows me flailing around at the top of the screen, I'm just going to make sure the sound is in fact off. Okay, good. When it shows me flailing around at the top of the screen, it's because that's where the recording buttons are. So this is Meta Business Manager, and I am creating a reel. So I'm going into my Google Drive, which is linked to my computer. And I'm pulling a video that I made with CapCut yesterday, actually. And I always turn the sound off. You'll notice that I clicked on the sound button because it's jarring when you're loading your reel and the sound just blares out at you. I'm copying and pasting from my other screen where I have all my content preloaded, as well as the hashtags that I know I want to use. That's a lot more than I usually use. I'm kind of using this for an example. You can pick your kind of cover image, and then you can add audio, which obviously I'm talking, so I don't want to add a bunch of audio. So reels are 3 minutes is their cap. That's as long as they can be. So magically, I made this and it fit into 3 minutes. You can add closed captions. So the auto generation of closed captions in Facebook are pretty good. And then you can go in and schedule. And so you can select the date here and the time. I'm pointing, like you can see where I'm pointing. You can see it on the screen. And change your time. What's interesting is it doesn't show for reels when your audience is online, which I thought was interesting. That's changed. Again, there's the closed captions. And then you go ahead, you can go to your caption settings. I just did this to kind of show you. So that's auto-generated captions. If you turn that on, you have to review them first. I don't do that. I would suggest reviewing your captions every single time. So I went to click up here to see if I could change it differently for Facebook and Instagram as far as the time goes, and you can't. The API is not set up to do that. So when you're scheduled, it will not show you anything. A lot of times also when you're scheduling a post, it will say, it'll just give you the spinning wheel on Meta. You can like wait a minute and then hit the refresh button and it will come back. Like it will have scheduled your post. I promise it won't have gotten rid of anything. But it does get stuck there a lot. So now I'm going in to schedule like a normal post with a picture. You can also put videos here, but it won't be a reel. So I have both my marketing account for Facebook and Instagram selected. And I popped in the text and then popped in the hashtags I wanted to use. I'm going to upload a photo. And I have to find the photo because, you know, having things readily accessible. So this is a great example of why you dump everything in a Google Drive and you link exactly to the photo or video that you're looking for, because then you can just pull it immediately. So this is an old post I made from when I was in fact one. And since I updated my Mac, I can't search for anything, as you just noticed. So I had to go in and find it. Luckily, I am kind of ridiculous about making things make sense and where I store them in my computer. Otherwise, I'd never find anything. So it shows you the photos will be auto cropped. You can go ahead and edit that so that you can control where it's cropped. And then there's editing, tagging, and then trash if you want to get rid of it. So I clicked on edit. I'm going to crop it to something that shows most of what I need it to. I use this for a story panel, not for an actual post, which is why it doesn't fit the right size. And then you can add a collaborator. Sorry, it jumped. So when you're adding alt text, this is where you put it. And I didn't already have it loaded. So I'm just kind of typing out what the person would be seeing if they were able to see the photo. So this is a blue and yellow patterned background, shows the outline of an iPhone with a picture of Joy on the screen. She has an asymmetrical brown haircut and blue eyes and is smiling, I think is what I type. It's usually what I type for that picture. Oh yeah, fair skin, because I'm Casper the Friendly Ghost. So, ooh, the chat just popped up. That's exciting. I'm glad people are talking and asking questions. So imagine if you couldn't see, you can see how wonderful at typing I am. I'm actually pretty fast at it, but some days it just doesn't work. So you can see how alt text describes the image for folks that can't see it. And then you can change this and customize it for Facebook and Instagram if it's a post, not if it's a reel, but if it's a post. So I'm putting in my link to find us online at my website, which obviously you won't do on Instagram because you can't click links in the text on Instagram. So I'm going to put, you know, where to find the website, because if you use link in bio, if you use Linktree, you will tend to get less response to your posts. Same as on TikTok. They just don't like it when you say those words. So you know where to find it. Or some people, if you've watched TikToks, you'll see like, you know, there's the bush in the thing, and point to their bio or where their bio would be. And then my smiley face just decided to go somewhere else completely different, which is a great plug for emoji copy, which I will tell you about later as well. So you can add a collaborator if you are posting this with someone else. Say I was posting this with the other company I work with, which is Brown Tie Media. I could tag them in this because I work there. And then you can set the date and time. And here's where it shows you where the active times are. So this is when your audience is typically active. So I always do a little bit before that, just because I want it to be up when they log in. That's just something I've always done. And you can click right on those days and times and it'll auto populate, and then you can edit it from there. So now you can hit schedule. You can slide down further and look at privacy settings, or you can also share it to your story. And this is constant. It always wants you to spend money now. So I did discard changes because, again, it gets stuck. So it did in fact load. So there I'm able to open the post. I can edit it. I can reschedule it. I can delete it right from there, which is what I did because this is an old post. And then click on it again, click delete. You can also move things around. I just hit refresh so that it would change my screen to show that those were deleted. So you can grab those and move them around, and then it shows you where your Instagram followers are most active, where your Facebook followers are most active, and you can drag your posts into that time, and then it'll pop up with this box to reschedule them. So this is all examples of different algorithms that Facebook uses, that Meta uses in their scheduling options. And this is an example of how it shows you International Women's Day. When it shows you the month view, it gives you the times you have things scheduled, beginning of Ramadan, daylight savings time, so different holidays, first day of spring, Pi Day, super important, especially if you sell pie. So it kind of gives you a help as far as scheduling. So this is buffered, and this is where I put in the little screenshots that I had earlier on, oh, well, you know, I'm in marketing and I would like to write a post about this. And you click generate ideas. So I had copied and pasted what that showed me. And now I'm creating a post. So I have TikTok selected. I don't have Blue Sky selected. And I have Threads selected. And this is a post that I posted either yesterday or the day before about not using fancy font generators. So those, if you've seen, like, I've noticed it coming back around on, particularly on LinkedIn, which I think is interesting. Fonts that aren't the typical LinkedIn font, like it's either bold or scrolly or just brighter. Those are Unicode font generators. And you can't see them. Well, screen readers can't read them. So because they're not an actual font, it's code. So anything you type in that, 10% to 20%, 10 to 15% of the population won't be able to know what you're typing, which most people don't think is a lot, but it's important. So this is my post about accessibility. I clicked the AI assistant and I'm going to ask it to do things. It talks about knowing how to write for the different channels you're using, which I thought was interesting. But it can unintentionally share wrong or offensive information and has limited knowledge of events after October 2023, which I thought was interesting. So it asks what you want to write about. It asks if you want to just change your text to suit a different audience. That's something you can do. So it's changing my content. I made the mistake of putting all the hashtags in there. So it's just kind of rephrasing that in a different way. And you can have it be more casual, or you can have it be more formal. You can shorten it, you can expand it. And then when you do that, it automatically goes to the bottom. So I ended up moving it around a bit. So in Buffer, when you are scheduling and you create a post, you can create it for all of your networks by just clicking them, or you can just create it for one at a time. And in the top right where it says add tags, that's a paid feature so that you can kind of categorize your posts. So I'm just editing this a little bit. And then I schedule it and I'm ready to go. And it gave me a way to say it that wasn't the exact same as how I said it on every other network. And then it reminds you that Threads has topics as opposed to hashtags, which means you can only use one hashtag. So when I edit this one, I go ahead and take it down to one hashtag, which I almost forget to do. And then I go back in and fix it. Lots of copying and pasting, lots of deleting and moving things around. But you can see the thread one, like watch this video for a deeper dive. It's a little bit more young sounding, I guess. And then you can go ahead and select when you're going to schedule it. So you can pick whatever day and time. This, because it's not a direct scheduling from the platform, does not tell you when your followers are active because it's not directly from that platform. And then you can pick publish now. You can go ahead and edit it. You can leave it as scheduled. Trying to remember what I was doing here. Oh, I think I'm adding an emoji, if I remember correctly. And then I delete the TikTok one because I decided I didn't want it. And this is where I edit the Threads one and change it to just the one topic. I don't remember what they call it actually. Anyway, one hashtag. And I add my original opening line. There we go. See, I almost forgot to do that. And I decided to explain it in case I forgot to tell you. I find that you run into a lot of trouble when you're sharing your screen and trying to remember everything on a webinar. So it's easier to make the videos ahead of time and just narrate yourself and laugh at yourself as you go along. This is where I am flailing to stop the recording. But just in case, I'm gonna, yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Okay, perfect. So let's see. And it restarted. That's fancy. Interesting. Oh, bonus points if you caught the spelling error, by the way, in any of those posts. And Again, a great example of why I use emojicopy.com. So you don't have to remember where your emojis are, because a lot of times they're in different places on different platforms. So my personal research, just my personal experience, is that a post takes up to 5 days to gain traction on LinkedIn. And that's been pretty consistent. For my posts to get interaction, it can be up to 5 days. And that's with consistent posting. So it takes about 3 days for things to show up and get traction in my Facebook feed. So when I'm looking at my personal Facebook feed and I see things, they can be anywhere from 3 to 6 days old, and I'd never seen them before. So most of all, Meta and LinkedIn are pay to play. So if you want consistent eyes on your posts, you do need ads. Although the other day I did see someone's post, and this was not them reacting to my post, this was me seeing their post, but it was posted 9 minutes before on LinkedIn. This was last week, and I was very surprised. So I know I touched a little bit on ads here. If you would like an in-depth social media ads training, we can definitely chat later. So hashtags, do your research. Always use them responsibly. Make sure you've researched to see who else uses them. When I worked at UMaine, there's always a fight between the Go Blue hashtag, because Michigan uses it and we use it, and it's just a constant fight. So when you look up Go Blue, you're going to find both. Verify any acronyms before using them. They could already be linked to something you do not want to be associated with. I actually worked for a company whose acronym was a negative slang term in Spanish, and nobody thought to check that before they created the company. Not a new company. So it's a really good idea to do things like that before you name your business as well. And then create a hashtag for your business. It's just a great way for people to be able to find a bunch of your posts later. So whether it's a slogan like "We Are EMCC," which may have actually changed, so don't quote me on that, or a descriptor like "main mechanic," use it consistently. And then use Pascal case, which is the title, or camel case as shown. So lowercase and then uppercase as you start a new word when you type hashtags, to make them easier to read and also help screen readers read them. So for accessibility, 1 in 4 people have a disability. Many are invisible. Some have more than one. Do you ever watch videos with the captions on? That's accessibility. So more than 7.3 million Americans use screen readers to assist with low vision. And that's a lot of people. I personally use captions because I never turn the sound on my phone on unless it's clear that I need to. So accessibility is super easy. Again, Pascal case or camel case with hashtags makes them easier to read and screen reader friendly. Add captions to your videos. Auto captioning is amazing. It's amazing. If you find that words that you say or use in your marketing tend to turn into other words in auto captioning, just kind of make a list of those and make note of where you say them and go in and edit them. And you can edit those captions super quickly and easily. And then use alternative text for images, which is just a description of the image. We already talked about examples of alt text. We saw those. And then image description, if there's no place for alt text. So Buffer actually just started allowing alt text in the free version. I just noticed it this week, and I'm pumped because it takes a lot of text to include alt text as an image description. So it saves characters when the alt text works. There are proponents of adding both because alt text breaks a lot, unfortunately. But if you have it in the image, you're pretty good to go. That was a lot, and it was fast. So please let me know if you have questions, and I will take it over to Allie. And I do have some resources and references here that are linked that I'll provide later as well.
So we are going to send around the slides, so you'll have access to all of those links, as well as some things that Joy referenced, like the Google Sheet for scheduling. Keep popping those questions in the chat because we'll get started on them. But if you have more, pop them in there. So first up, Joy, can you talk a little bit about posting on different platforms? Should you be repurposing posts or to save time, or No.
I always say that's a great idea because if you have, I mean, so many people repurpose posts. Like if you have a blog, for example, you can get two or three different posts just out of that blog. You can have it. I mean, if you're not able to blog once a week, you can share information from the same blog three different times. As long as it's not consistently one right after the other, you can certainly refer back to that blog. And that's another, so it's another reason that blogs are considered evergreen content, right? Like you have to go update them, obviously. If you wrote it about the newest car cabin air filter in 2015, you're going to want to update it with information, but then you can repurpose it. So the other thing that you can do is write it as if it was evergreen content. So if it's an industry that doesn't change a lot, or if it's about how to write an article, like the main components of that don't change consistently. So I'm all for repurposing content because business owners have so many other things to do than plan out their marketing and social, which is why it's really helpful to have a partner who can kind of see it with fresh eyes.
So repurpose doesn't mean copy paste. It means,
Right.
but don't start from scratch. And just an aside, have you tried using like a Chat GPT or Claude to like put a post in there and say, make this, well, I think you gave those examples earlier of when it popped up with three different, here's your LinkedIn, here's your Insta, here's your TikTok, whatever, to kind of change the tone and the vibe of the post. Yet another use
Absolutely.
for AI.
Yeah. So you would typically not put, depending on your industry, you would not post the same thing on LinkedIn that you would post um, on Snapchat or on Threads. Maybe you would, depends on what your industry is. So, different social media platforms have different target markets. They have different people that are using them. They are kind of more broadly spread now than they ever were. But in general, LinkedIn is not for, you know, your random offhanded takes of something that happened to you earlier in the day. Which just made me think of a TikTok I made once. Anyway, sorry. Um, it's not just like a hot take machine. People utilize it for that, but it tends to be tied into business specifically. Like obviously there's a lot more of that going on right now with funding being cut and just all of the changes. You'll find a lot more hot takes on there, but usually there's a education message behind that, or it ties into something about how your business works. And yes,
So,
definitely looked at text for too long and said, can you rewrite this for LinkedIn? Like make it more business savvy or whatever. Just because, a lot of people use it for a time crunch. I typically use it for, I've thought about this too much. Show me a different way. Just move it around.
so talking about Facebook and Instagram, do you think the Meta Planner is the best way to go to schedule on those platforms? Um, Brad says he schedules Facebook, Instagram, and could be posting to Blue Sky. Considered Buffer, but not sure if Buffer is an improvement over what he's currently doing.
Yeah. So if you are only using those three platforms, and I don't think Blue Sky has in-app scheduling yet. And if they do, please tell me because I wasn't aware. Um, so if you're only using those three platforms, then definitely schedule in Meta because, like I said, you do have a lot more opportunity there. Making sure you're tagging the right account, for example, just different things like that. From what I have seen, tagging doesn't work so great for Blue Sky. Again, it's relatively brand new in Buffer, but scheduling the content is really kind of what you're looking for there. So scheduling it to take it off your plate is what you're looking for there. And then if you have a consistent time that you're scheduling, so if you know that you're going to post on Blue Sky Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m., just if you're picking an example, you can go to your account on your phone or on your computer and go back in, edit the post, and tag the person you wanted to tag. So they just haven't updated the API to be able to do that yet. As soon as they do, Buffer will jump right in on it. And they don't that's not something that changes whether you use the free version or the paid version, which is exciting. So you can still tag accounts once that is able to be available, basically. So yeah, Brad, definitely keep doing what you're doing. If you want to be able to schedule it, use Buffer because it's free.
Enjoy. Are you, as you're working through the scheduling, do you do any of it on a mobile device or are you always on your desktop? Is it possible to do it on a mobile device?
It's a lot easier to do on a laptop or desktop because so I typically have both screens going, which is just who I am as a person. But I have my content here on my smaller laptop screen, and then I have everything else open over here so I can jump back and forth between tabs and copy and paste things in, which is what you saw me doing in the video. You just didn't see where it was coming from. Where it was coming from is basically the spreadsheet you're going to get after this. I use it with my clients so that I can share it with them and they can just dump things in. They can send me a link to where their videos are located so I can repurpose them and get them on different platforms. So I know there is a Buffer app. I have not found that Meta Business Suite works great on mobile device. In fact, I found that there are some things that just aren't available, which frustrated me enough to just keep doing it on my laptop. So it's possible that they've updated that, and I just haven't checked, to be quite honest, because it was frustrating enough for me to want to just be able to use my be able to type faster, use my control S, control C, control V to copy and paste. So it's possible that it's updated, but for me, it's a lot easier to use on my computer.
And can you talk about alt text as they compare to keywords?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and how that's maybe changed over time, because I think the answer maybe used to be different not long ago.
Yeah. So alt text is a really good tool for SEO if you're using it on your website specifically. So in the fact that if you have a page that's about social media, and that's the keyword for the page, and you're showing images of different social media platforms, you'll want to say, this social media platform and say what it is, like Facebook, etc. So it is an opportunity to use keywords and kind of bump up your SEO. And it's an easy way to do it. But you also want to make sure that it doesn't that it makes sense when you read it back. So if that was being read out loud to describe that image to someone, that it wouldn't sound like it was an overstuffed keyword sentence, because Google will also get you in big trouble for that as well. So, but it has changed a lot. So on social, it's really not for that at all. It's specifically so that folks know what's in that picture. And it's great for email as well, because if the picture doesn't show up, which is unfortunately common and getting more common with all of Gmail's restrictions, if the picture is just like the broken link, the alt text will still be there. So it'll tell the person what it was.
And speaking of change, how often can we expect Meta to throw changes at us?
Weekly? It's a lot. I have no qualms with being on a call with a client and showing them how to get something working in their business suite or how to schedule social, and be very confused as to why something that was there last week is no longer there, or they, because they've moved it. So I just laugh about it, because if I'm in there all the time and I'm having a hard time finding it, I can't even imagine what it would be like for people who are just trying to keep
live and breathe marketing.
Absolutely. Like
yeah. And
there's no, in my mind, there's no benefit to have them change it that often, because it's not like many people are paying for, a meta consultant. That means spending big ad bucks, like big ad bucks. And so it's just, it seems like it's willy-nilly. I'm sure they have reasons for it, but it is why I call Meta Meta. because it does tend to be very frustrating.
Any tips for keeping up with the changes?
Just stay in there, if you haven't been in a while, to schedule stuff, or if you've, gotten overwhelmed as a business owner and have been way too busy to keep up with social yourself, even if you're having somebody else do it, just pop in and take a look for sure, because the more you don't keep up with it, the longer it will take you to figure out where they've put everything.
So Andrea has a question about Instagram. She says, I find editing reels on Instagram is very touchy, but I've also heard that it's better for the algorithm if you use their music, captions, and features. Is that true?
So, what I would suggest is a program that you like to use. I find CapCut to be super user friendly. Like I've used, I've literally done video editing for TV shows and used Adobe Premiere Pro. And Adobe has, I forget what it's called because I haven't used it because it's not great. But they have a program for your smartphone. But CapCut is awesome. And you don't have to pay for it to take out the branding at the back where it says CapCut. You just click it, throw it in the trash. Like there's a little trash icon. If you're going to add music, I would suggest waiting until you upload it, because tying in that music from that platform, it's tedious, because if you're changing where the music sits as opposed to just starting the song at the beginning, then you will have to play with it a little bit, unless it's a clip, in which case that's what you're looking for anyway. It's already edited to the right amount. But I would edit the video elsewhere for sure, and then upload the video with whatever original sound it had, and then add your music over the top of it in the platform you're scheduling it in, which whether that would be TikTok or Meta, so Instagram or Facebook. That's a great question.
Was Claude the platform that we can generate alt text? I'm a photographer, so I have to create a lot, and it's time consuming to create all of that alt text for their website.
Yeah, you can use any of them. I happened to use Claude when I was taking that video, just because I wanted to see what it would spit out versus ChatGPT. I haven't mentioned Google Gemini in here, and I know a lot of people that love it. There is literally no privacy with it. And if you have it on your phone, it reads all of your emails, all of your text messages if you have a Google phone or Android and you have Gemini turned on. So, pro tip. Yeah,
Lovely.
no, thank you. So, not that I have anything to hide, but no, thank you. Um, so, there's all sorts of different platforms, and I'm sure more on the way. So, just whatever one you feel most comfortable with. If you feel like it tends to spit back better results, that's the one that you'll want to use. I know that a lot of writers and marketers are using Claude simply because they tend to find better. It's just, it seems like more quality content, or more, maybe it's just more aligned with what our voices would be saying, like what we would be typing.
So maybe experiment a little and see what,
Yeah,
ChatGPT versus
for
Claude
sure.
versus whatever else spits out. Really good question. And this might be sort of a topic loaded question, but talking about ads on Meta, pay to play, uh, can you get away, Brad's wondering, can you get away with a low budget ad spend without being overlooked? And I kind of add to that, what's the minimum someone can throw at some ad spend and get some attention from Meta?
So that's
Good
tricky because
question.
it depends. But the client that I was helping, and I was like, where did they put this? And she's laughing at me, and she's like, yeah, this is, can you imagine if this was me trying to do this? So she couldn't run ads, and that was what was happening. And she's an author, and she just wanted to throw like $10 at something for an event that was upcoming. So I have folks that do smaller ad runs just to get things seen, like one that was at the Bangor Authors Fair and Book Festival. So hard to remember those words in that order for some reason. 'Cause I have a client that was at that, and she threw $20 to $30 at a post that, or it was an ad that we made specifically as opposed to a boosted post, but to target a specific region this many miles outside of Bangor, and folks that were interested in, and we didn't even really cut it down as far as like people that are interested in X, Y, and Z. We just put an age limit on it and let it run. So basically to get the most folks that would be interested in coming to that event as possible. So you can get decent results for $20 for an event. If it's a big event, you can certainly spend more. You can have multiple different ads running. I tell businesses that they should have an ad running for consistency at all times, if they can afford to, just in general, whether it's something on Google to just get your business seen more high in results. Because if anybody tells you they can get you on the front page, the first page of results in Google, don't listen to them. That takes time. Yeah, so $20 a week is about $1,000. So I just read what Brad wrote. It depends on how long you're going to be running the ad. If the event is coming up in a month, then that's different. So over the course of a year, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to spend that much, the thing with Facebook, well, the thing with any ad platform is it learns for a while. So when you're running an ad, it's learning different things. And when it's in the learning stage, you can't really edit it. Once it's through the learning stage, you can pull the spend down. So if you find that it's not getting the results you want, you can bump up the spend, you can change it, and just like target it a little differently, add more specificity, or you can bring the spend down if you need to. You can pause it as well so that it's not costing anything for a certain amount of time. So I think for a small business, Brad, I'm not sure what your business is, but I think for a small business, that's kind of a lot of money unless you're doing really well. So it really depends on what your specific goals are. But it's good to have an ad running in general just to keep more eyes on your business. And if you can't do that, then posting consistently is going to help that a lot.
I think we're also talking about sort of the difference between depth and breadth of your clients, of your customers on social media. If you post often, you're getting sort of a deeper connection, continued repeat of your existing followers, whereas ads are going to expose you to a new audience. So I always tell people, don't forget about retaining your existing customers and nurturing them, because you're out there spending so much time trying to build on that base and get more people. So,
and I'm never going to tell somebody, oh, well, you need to spend at least this much, because that doesn't, first of all, it's not necessarily true, because everyone's business is different. And that's kind of the reason that I really like working with different businesses, to try to figure out the best way to help them versus just throwing out a blanket spend that they may or not be able to afford.
Customized approach. So we are just about at time. If anybody does have other questions, we'll hang out, pop them in the chat. As a reminder, you will get the slides in a follow-up email within a couple of days from the SBDC, as well as the scheduling spreadsheet and any other follow-up material. And I believe, Joy, your contact information is in the slides. So if folks do have follow-up questions, they can connect with you. You can also connect with your SBDC advisor for some of the general questions, although Joy's depth of knowledge, we really appreciate having you here today, Joy, to give everybody more in depth than typically provided.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I really like to teach people about this stuff, in case you couldn't tell.
You geek out over it a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I do, just a little tiny bit, obviously. Thanks everyone for coming.
Yeah, and I'm not seeing any other additional questions. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Joy. I suppose we will go ahead and sign off, and you'll get a follow-up email in a few days from all of us.
Awesome.
Have a great afternoon.